Good to see everyone. With everyone in the room, tells me it's that time of year again. Football must be in the air. To say I'm excited would probably be an understatement. Just the last 5 days and having our first 5 practices has been an unbelievable experience for myself. Again, trying to get to know our players a little bit better, especially on the offensive side. Brand new staff, or relatively new staff as of spring, getting those guys back on the field with our players, and trying to take off from where we left off in spring. We had an excellent spring of 15 practices, and so far excited about where we're at with our first 5. You know, what we've seen the first 5 days are the things that you want to have. We've had excellent energy, excellent excitement. Is all there. Of course, are there too many mistakes? Are there some poor reads, some ill-advised decisions on the football field? Of course, but that's why we call it practice, and we're excited to continue to move forward. I will tell you this, the number of young players that are hungry, that are super excited to kind of cement their spot in Bison football is fun to watch them develop on a daily basis, for the light bulbs to start going on, especially for some of the second and third year players that we're going to have to rely on this year, with only 14 seniors coming back this year. At this time, you know, I'll make a brief comment about our freshman class. I've said it a number of different times. We had 30 kids here over the course of the summer. And I think because we had 30 kids here with Coach Kramer throughout the summer, and some access time that's provided us by the NCAA, we've had an unbelievable transition. There's probably a handful of kids that we could see on the football field this fall in some sort of role on special teams, offense and defense. As a staff, we're still continuing trying to decipher who that might be, but there are a number of candidates. I'm really pleased with their ability to learn how we practice. That's generally the biggest difference that most of these young men experience when they come here. But again, having the administration's support and having 30 young freshmen here all summer long has eased that transition and shortened that learning curve for these 30 freshmen. As I look at our defense and some of the kids that I've seen, I'll start with one positive piece of information or news, is that Aaron Mercadal received his extra year of eligibility from the NCAA. So what once was 15 seniors is now 14, and he will go back into that junior class. But those of you who watch Bison football saw Aaron on the sideline last year, and that tells you just the importance that young man provides to our defense, to the youth of this team, and to the coaches. He is an unbelievable person, great football player, and really excited about where he's at right now, and had a great summer with Coach Kramer, and has picked up from where he left off in 2017. Some other names that I feel like I need: Cole Cars, Matt Biegler, doing outstanding things up front at the defensive tackle position. And again, you talk about the tradition of walk-ons here. I saw the newspaper article today. Matt Biegler fits right into that mix and is going to play a lot of snaps for us over the course of the year, and look forward to seeing him develop and take a bigger and bigger role in what we're doing on Code Green. At the defensive end position, Derek Tuska, in my opinion, is probably the best defensive end in the country. He's been dealing with a little bit of a hamstring issue of late, has been doing some individual period. We'll start working him into some team time over the next few days, but again, no reason to be alarmed. The number of reps that he's played over the course of the last 2 years, the number of practice reps he has, I know Derek is hungry to go and ready to get going. Some other new names: Tony Pierce, young man from Florida, has really, you've seen him develop over the course of the last 5 days and over the summer. A great snap, great explosiveness, and I think can really provide something for Coach Buddha in that room. Barty Agbu, young man from Shiloh Christian in Bismarck. There's a place for him to play for us this year. Has done an outstanding job of getting himself in shape, dynamic pass rusher, and I would think that as the season progresses, you're going to see him utilized in some third down situations. Has a great motor, great first step, can bend the corner, and he's the way you want him to look when they get off the bus, of course. At the linebacker position, I talked about Aaron. Jackson Hankey, Park River, North Dakota native, doing an outstanding job at Mike linebacker and holding that position down. The thing that you can count on with Jackson is he's going to get us lined up, he's going to close the front accordingly, and he's going to have great level of communication. And some people, want to always compare, Jackson to Nick, Jackson to Carlton Littlejohn. Jackson needs to be the best Jackson that he can be in the 2019 season. And I have, having been the linebacker coach the previous couple years, I have all the faith in the world he's going to do an outstanding job for us. Jabril and Jazir Cox, both of them have taken off where they left off in last season and in the spring. Jabril continues to get reps both at our Sam linebacker and Will linebacker position. We could potentially start dabbling a little bit with our nickel Mike position, similar to what we did with Carlton Littlejohn in 2014, 2013. Jazir has done an excellent job of making himself a better football player since last year. Played in 8 to 9 games last year on special teams. I'd anticipate seeing him play some Sam linebacker during the course of the 2019 season, which then offers us the ability to move Jabril around a little bit as well. But both those young men are doing well. And then the last linebacker I should probably note is Mark Stumpf, brother of MJ Stumpf, who was an outstanding linebacker for us. Bismarck High School in North Dakota here is right now working at Mike linebacker. We moved him from Will and is doing an excellent job. Again, a second-year player that is starting to catch up on what we're doing. You see the light bulb going on and just has a good feel of what Bison football is. And I think part of that has to do probably with brother's tutelage before he got here. In the defensive backs, I'm really excited. Michael Tutsey's one of our best football players on this football team. And it's not a surprise. Dad's a college football coach, but a student of the game, unbelievable athleticism. You saw in a few of the big-time plays he made a year ago. He did an outstanding job. His leadership continues to develop. And he's similar to the James Hendricks of the world, where he is a gym rat for football. He is always around the game and wants to know as much as he can. And Coach Braun's done a great job of working with him here through spring and the early parts of fall camp, and really look for Michael to have a big season for us. Other names at the safety position, of course, James Hendricks, outstanding leader, outstanding football player, could probably play 4 or 5 positions. And in fact, he probably has played 4 or 5 positions for us through his career. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do try to move him around a little bit. And if he has to play will linebacker or play strong safety, he has the knowledge and the know-how how to do that for us. And the last safety I need to comment about is Dawson Weber, young man from Sacramento, California. Dawson's done a great job, continues to grow. Really excited about the depth that he provides at that safety position. And then at the corner position, Marquise Bridges, Josh Hayes, both starting corners, going all the way back to 2017. Destin Talbert has done a nice job this fall camp, really giving us some great depth at the corner position. And as we've seen, we're going to need more than 2 corners throughout a year, especially in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. And then a young man from Kansas, Jaden Price, has really started to elevate his game, really started to show up in a lot of special teams and competition drills that we've had. And so really pleased with his growth, where he's at right now. But I got to think when we want to get into some sub-packages, you're talking about some guys that can play nickel, be the third corner in the game, even guys that could play, if we got into a dime package, could help us out immensely within that sub-package. On offense, probably the area where I feel we have the most depth, of course, is the offensive line. Dylan Radens, Zach Johnson, both have both received a number of preseason honors and accolades. But you talk about 2 guys that have gone into the season with the right mentality. They're humble, which to me, anytime you have a little bit of humility, means you're willing to learn and willing to listen. And both those guys have moved around a little bit position-wise, just trying to create a situation where we can find the 5 best offensive linemen that'll play for us this next year. Other names that I need to bring up, it's good to have Tanner Volson back. Tanner's a North Dakota native and provides a literally huge piece to our offensive line at either right guard or right tackle. Or Cordell, did I say Tanner? I apologize. Cordell. Some other offensive linemen that have just started to kind of show us some things. Nash Jensen, big recruit out of Osseo, Minnesota. Those of you who remember, Nash showed up at about 360 pounds. He's now down into the 320s, and has helped him conditioning-wise, but also working with Coach Blazek is right there on the doorsteps of having the opportunity to start for us this next year. Jalen Sundell, Cody Mock, and Carson Schoening are all excellent players for us. Carson being a Rolla, North Dakota native, has done a great job so far in 5 days, holding down the center position. Some other spots on offense, tight end, of course, Ben Ellefson from Hawley, Minnesota, has been in and out a little bit. Had some surgery on his feet this summer. Still coming back, has practiced probably about every other day right now. And again, similar to Derek Tuska, he has enough reps banked right now that we don't necessarily need to have him out there every day. It gives opportunities to Noah Gindorf and Josh Babbage. Garrett Malmstrom, where would I be if I didn't bring up our fullback? He does an unbelievable job. Playing U, playing F is a huge part of what we want to do. The physicality that we want to possess on offense, a lot of that comes from Garrett, and excited to see him have a great senior year. At the running back, of course, I continually always talk about Ty Brooks. A young man that you're going to hear him before you see him because he's going to let you know how good he is. But that's just the confidence he exudes. But also the confidence he creates on the offensive side of the football. When Ty Brooks is at his best, you can hear about it. And the guys on offense know that's a comforting level for them. Adam Cofield, tell you what, has worked on his feet, his ability to make those jump cuts, and really excited about where he's at just within 5 days. Dmitri Williams, redshirted him last year, played in 4 games for us, had been a receiver. I think you can see both Dmitri playing in the backfield and as a slot receiver as the season unfolds because he has the knowledge of our offense. And, of course, Sabian Clark, young man that the University of Iowa was recruiting, big back, gives us a short yardage back, a bigger back that complements both Ty and Adam and Dmitri. So excited about Sabian and his ability and the things he brings to us. At the wide receiver position, the first thing we always talk about is how young we are. We will not have a senior in that group until 2021. Phoenix Sproles has been appointed the leader of that group because he has more reps than anybody else, and he's done an outstanding job. Christian Watson, coming off a knee surgery in the spring, has practiced certain periods of the day. We're trying to hold him back a little bit and not give him too much too early, so we set him back with his health. Other names that I think you can anticipate us: Zach Mathis, big, long wide receiver from Tampa Bay. Braylon Henderson, a wide receiver from Plano East, and then DJ Baptist, a young man from Hutto, Texas. I think at some point during the season could be similar to a Phoenix Sproles where they start to emerge once they have grasp of a smaller version of the call card as we move forward. And then, of course, at the specialist, we're fortunate we got a number of guys with experience. Garrett Wagner back at the punter. Ross Kennelly as a long snapper, typically a position that you take for granted, but the last 3 years we've had him, and it's been excellent, the continuity that those guys have created. And then Jake Reynolds, a young man from Shanley High School here in Fargo, has done a great job with the place kicking and kickoff duties. And so, that's kind of a number of names in a nutshell. I know we still have 20 practices yet to go. There's a lot of time for development, a lot of time for growth, especially when you start talking about our young players. But I do know this: what we lack in maybe the seniors, we make up with a great junior class. We make up with a number of young players that are hungry and excited to establish themselves as the next wave of Bison football players here. I know we had a team meeting this morning. We talked about goals for the season. We talked about making sure that marginal gains has been a kind of a consistent theme throughout fall camp. Trying to challenge the guys, get a little better at something. Find something physically, mentally that you can get better at. But if all 110 of us get a little better every day, there could be some substantial improvement each day of fall camp. With that, I will open it up to questions at this time.
Matt, through 5 practices, where are you at with your quarterbacks right now?
I didn't say anything because I anticipated someone would ask. So all 3 of them have had excellent first 5 days. You see the leadership, you see the command of the huddle. Are there some decisions that are probably being made at some times that you'd like to take back, or do you chalk up to youthfulness? I don't think we're anywhere near ready to make a decision on the 3, but I like what they all possess, and they all want to learn. And they have the best teacher in the country to do it, in Randy Hedberg. I've had the opportunity to sit in the meetings and listen and hear how these 3 are taking in the information and being able to regurgitate it and give it back to Coach Hedberg. So what we need to do, and Dom, we've only had 1 day of true competition. We've had a red zone period. We had a third down period. And, of course, some of that's due to the first 5 days, and on day 5 is the only day you can be full pads. I need to see more interaction with our defense when we have speed on speed to make a better decision on where we're at with the 3 right now.
You still on the schedule You want to have a guy 10 days out?
10 days out, yep. I'm going to stay true to that. You can ask me next week and I'll tell you the same thing.
Wide receiver spot where a true freshman might get a bigger look than maybe some of the other position groups just because there isn't a lot of returning experience.
Definitely, and that's why I brought up the two men that I talked about, Braylon and DJ, and the other young man would be Jacob Lippy, young man from Wisconsin who's a big, long ex-receiver, but is also, all three of those guys have shown things on special teams as well. They have to provide more than just being able to be a slot receiver. We got to make them football players, and they got to help us on special teams as well.
Challenge, past years always seem to be Shepard or Nerzendowski or Brock coming back as the guy with some experience. What's the challenge of coming in with the group where I think Watson had the most catches last year?
Well, I guess you can look at it two different ways. We're going to have a brand new quarterback regardless of who is there. So there's probably not a lot of continuity between any one receiver and a quarterback. You could go back last year and say, of course, early in the year, Easton had an unbelievable trust and faith that Shep was going to run the right routes and be where he needed to be. Well, I think right now we're all growing together and developing together. So, but as I mentioned earlier, Phoenix Sproles needs to be the young man because of he played in 16 games. He needs to be the young man that can be the bell cow kind of that position group and get those guys going in the right direction.
You run the same type of offense with Trey and with Zeb? Is it the same things you're running, or do you have to change what you do because of each player's?
Well, I think that would get into more game planning, but right now our installation has not wavered depending on who's behind center. And so,
Trey a better runner than Zeb?
I think if you were to put him in a race, he definitely would be faster than Zeb.
Does that give Trey an advantage with what your offense has been the last X number of years? He's like the dual threat quarterback that we've seen at NDSU.
I don't know if it'll give him an advantage. I think that's one thing that they both have their positives, and the fact that you got to make the right decisions, and it's going to come down to the guy who puts us in the situation to be successful.
I know this might be maybe more of a question for your new OC, but how's the philosophy developing for your guys' offense this year? Just with the new leadership, new potential quarterbacks, what kind of shape is it taking, and your opinion on it?
Well, of course, with the new quarterback, we're going to have to rely on the run game. And, I talked about earlier, where's the most of our depth? In the backfield and at the offensive line. So anytime you have a new quarterback and they have the ability to check into a run play, it's going to be probably comforting for them to a certain extent. But I think what you'll see from our offense this year is more cross personnels. You'll see us maybe in 12 personnel, but Josh Babbage lined up at the X or Josh Babbage lined up at the Z. Talk about a 6'6", 240-pound wide receiver out there who has excellent hands and speed. So I think we've had a deal. I shouldn't say we. Defensively, we've had to deal with that over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, and it'll be nice to see us doing some of that back to some of our opponents.
How involved are you in kind of the reshaping of this offensive structure? Are you kind of leaving it right now to Tyler, Randy, and their crew?
I've left a lot of it to Tyler and Randy. When I took over as the head football coach, number one thing was to hire the people that you could trust. I've sat in of course, more offensive meetings over the course of the last year than I have in my previous 24 years as a coach. But typically in the mornings, I sit in with Randy in the quarterback position meetings. I get a chance to catch up with Tyler during the day. And then usually in the evening, I try to spend it more on the defensive side. And then middle of the day, special teams and watching some things with Coach Gazer, or just getting away and watching them on my own so I can make and just a best decision or take a look at it without someone else watching it with me.
You lost Bruce Anderson, Lance Dunn, and Seth got hurt. You still feel the running back spot as a position of depth, or you feel you got pretty good depth there?
I do. And the two guys that I didn't mention, because I think we're still evaluating, and you never want to put the cart before the horse, is our two freshmen that we brought in, Jalen Bussey and Kobe Johnson. So both those guys have breakaway speed. Kobe was a 10.5, 100-meter kid from the state of Georgia. Jalen is Mr. Everything from the Tampa area. So it wouldn't be a shock that later in the year, if we need to use one of those, just like we did Seth Wilson a couple years ago, keep practicing those guys, and maybe by conference or midseason we can start using them.
How big is Sabian Clark being, like you said, like the big back? It seems a lot of those other guys might be shiftier and quicker.
Yep.
How important is having his presence there?
Well, I think it gives you a changeup. gives you an alternative, a guy who can get downhill, one cut back. We all know Ty's not afraid to run downhill and run A-gap power and hit it out the backside. But at the same time, how many carries can Ty Brooks handle along with being maybe a returner or some of those other duties that he might possess? So Sabian gives us a great changeup on some short yardage, gives us the ability to get a bigger back in there on some pass protection. So there's a high value for a big back like Sabian.
Man, how beneficial is it to have one extra non-conference game this year before league play with such a new team?
Well, I think it's beneficial this year, probably more so than ever, just because of the number of players that we may try to start to incorporate in the new NCAA 4-game rule early in the season versus late, and give some guys some experience or get them to travel. So when we do get into conference season, it's not the lights aren't too bright for them at that time.
What's Luigi's status with his foot, coach?
He had a doctor's appointment yesterday. He's in a walking boot right now, and we're playing it day to day.
Trey, describe coming to fall camp knowing got a shot to earn the #1 job. What pressure do you have on your shoulders? What did you take out of spring ball to get you ready for fall camp?
I don't really worry about the pressure, really. I don't think any of us do because we're just focused on getting better every day. As a unit, I think that's the most important thing. As an offense, helping the young guys get better. But it's a lot more fun knowing what's going on this year for sure.
For anyone who wants to take it, really, what's this competition been like? And of course, if you're looking at all, there's a lot of talk about the competition, about who it's going to be. What's it like inside that quarterback room, and how are you guys approaching this fall camp?
It's a blast, to be honest, because we're all really good friends on the field, off the field. We hang out. I'd say it's a really friendly competition, to be honest. Like when we're on the field, we're competing every rep, and we want to give our best effort, put our best foot forward. But at the same time, we're still best friends behind this, and we have a good time in the quarterback room. We're always picking each other up. We're never cheering for each other to do something wrong so it can make us look good. We're picking each other up, trying to encourage each other through this whole thing.
Battle before, is this one a little bit different? Not asking you to speak ill of anyone else, but is this one a little bit different? What's the feeling for you back in a QB battle?
It's fun. Always got to love competition, whether it's at the New England Patriots or it's here. I think that competition is fun, and these guys make it fun to compete with because, like he said, it's fun every day to be at practice because we pick each other up through the good and the bad, and we always help each other out no matter what. It's not any bad blood, so it's just really fun, and I enjoy coming here every day to be with these two.
When you signed on, when you came, how upfront were they about the battle that it would be for you?
It's been absolutely perfect. I think we were like 3 or 4 throws off in the spring from all having the same numbers, so very thankful for that.
For you yet, that the first 4 months you're here is probably a whirlwind, and things now start to actually slow down and kind of grasp what you're doing on offense?
Yeah, this summer these guys, we all sat down and went through the installs with the freshmen, and it was just good being able to go out and not have to stare at scripts and just be able to play and cut loose and have fun and enjoy it instead of worrying about each and every play, holding my breath, hoping I did the right thing.
Was those snaps in game action that you got last year?
What helped me more than the game action was the practices, just being able to practice with Easton and come back to the huddle every play and be like, okay, what were you seeing? What was see what he was seeing and just being around him as much as possible.
After the semifinal game in the national championship, I've heard from other true freshmen say that was the best to get me ready for the next season. You agree with that? That how much that helped you get ready for this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Just having that time to really just lock in. We call it winter camp here, just because we're blessed to have that opportunity. 7 out of the last 8 years to be able to have winter camp when most other team seasons are done. So it's really a blessing. It's really cool, and just getting to spend that time with the older guys. The seniors. You really kind of step back for a minute and realize that we have 1 game left with those guys. So really you just lock in and just take everything you can from those guys because you don't have much time to spend with them after that.
What do you think is the biggest thing you learned from watching Easton, like whether it was preparation or just talking to him, what he'd seen on plays and stuff like that?
Just the way he handles himself, I'd say. Overall, just the kind of person he is on and off the field. I think everyone, when Easton was in the room or Easton was in a meeting, everyone just had that feeling, like this is the dude. It's really hard to explain, but Just that feeling, you know, if you were in the room with him, you knew, like, that was the dude, and that's just how he carried himself all the time.
Last spring and the summer, you guys collectively as a quarterback group are starting to develop a rapport with the receivers?
Yeah, I do. I feel like the first 5 practices have been really good with the receivers. I think we can all attest to that they're all stepping up and making wonderful plays. And, you know, maybe it is a bad ball, but the guys are catching it and really starting to come together and look good.
Is a guy with a big arm, you know, more of a thrower than a passer? More of a thrower than a runner. Is that fair? Can you run the ball if needed as well out of what NDSU's tried to do the last 10 years or whatever it's been?
Yeah, I can. I mean, at Iowa State it was a lot different situation for the circumstances I was in, but here I've enjoyed, you know, running the same plays that Easton got to run and have his big runs on, so it's fun. And I don't think that I'm just a thrower, but
Did you run much in high school? I mean, was that what kind of?
I ran this offense in high school under center, and we hardly got in the shotgun, so it's just hand the ball off and let the running back do their job.
Are you feeling more comfortable enough in this offense? Because I think you know, everything was out of the shotgun at Iowa State.
Yep, I do. I really do. I think high school helped me prepare for that, just because take a snap from under center and not be foreign.
Can you beat Trey in a foot race?
No. A guy. I don't try.
So you're a really smart quarterback.
Yeah.
How important is it, guys, having a guy, you talked about Easton Trey and learning from what he did. How important is it to have a guy like Coach Hedberg in that quarterback's room with you?
It's huge, and he's a lot of fun. You know, just in meetings every day. You know, even when you don't feel like doing it, Coach Hedberg will come in with like a funny joke or something just to get everyone in a good mood. So he's just a lot of fun to be around, and obviously his knowledge of the game is incredible. I mean, what he's taught Easton and Carson his last year, you just don't have that everywhere, and I think that's one of the main reasons why each of us are here today, just because of Coach Hedberg and what he's done. And also the rest of the offensive staff, the new guys, just the energy that they bring and the knowledge of the game. It's just been a ton of fun to work with them.
Or is that anything you want to Coach Hedberg? Yeah, I just second that. Like Trey said, he has a very vast knowledge of the game of football. So it's really interesting to get his take on everything, because he just knows what he's been in every situation. He's been in our shoes. He's done it at the highest level. So he's seen what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. So it's cool to pick his mind and pick his brain and get to see his perspectives on what he would do in certain situations.
Good answer, honestly. We can always go to him with a question during practice, but in the film room he does a really good job of breaking it down and explaining why we should do this and why it's really important to hone in on what he's saying, because in the end it does make you successful, as you could see with Easton.
Guys, how do you not take it away out of Cleveland practice, like on pins and needles, knowing every day you're being evaluated? How do you handle that going into every meeting, every watching film? How do you guys handle that kind of pressure?
Well, for me, being here and seeing how Cole Davis went about his business, I know neither of these two guys got to be here when he was here, but knowing that no matter what the outcome is, that I'm doing this thing for a bigger purpose, and there's bigger reasons than football, and no matter who the starter is, we're going to pick each other up on Saturdays, and at the same time, you never know, injuries can happen. Guys are going to need to step up at different times. I mean, so you never know when your number's going to get called, and you got to be ready no matter whether you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. You got to be ready, and you got to prepare every day like you're going to be the one on Saturday.